Welcome to the Louisiana Hayride with the Muslim Cowboy. Hide your daughters. Yeah.
Yeah. How you doing, David?
How you doing?
All right. So today we want to look at this fella calls himself a Muslim cowboy, and he's got some interest in little children. He likes little children a lot, it looks like. And we want to expose that Muslim fella, the Muslim cowboy fella.
By the way, there's a problem with the new reverts. Just as they don't understand what the Quran actually says about child marriage. No, you don't have to wait for puberty. It specifically talks about marrying, banging, and divorcing girls all before they reach the age of puberty. And same thing with Aisha. She hadn't reached puberty. Even just as they don't know any of that, but they think they do because people cheer for them so much when they revert that they think, wow, I'm doing everything right. I'm doing everything right. I'm crushing this thing, right? So they think they know what they're talking about. And then they gotta find out the hard way. So anyway, you get these new reverts and they think, hey, we could just keep tossing insults. They don't even know that according to their religion, they are not supposed to be starting insult battles with people who are going to insult their religion in return. Hey, Muslim Cowboy, when you get around to actually reading the Quran, check out Surah 6, verse 108. If you know ahead of time, these are guys who, if I start insulting them, are instantly going to start insulting my prophet and ripping up my book and so on. You're supposed to stop. You're supposed to stop with the insults. So because you may not have a problem with people insulting Islam, there are a lot of people in your community who are very sensitive to that sort of thing. And now your decisions are leading to behaviors that are very upsetting to your community. In other words, we don't just sit around ripping up Qurans. We don't. Someone does something. Someone does something. These are responses to your behaviors. So just keep that in mind. You'll learn. Guys, keep in mind, as disgusting as it is to see every new revert and every new da'i, every last one of them just comes right. So, hey, I reverted. You know what I want to start defending? Child marriage, banging little kids. That's what I want to start defending. As disgusting as it is, it's such a breath of fresh air compared to 10 or 12 years ago when they called us liars for saying that Islam teaches this. So it's a weird kind of progress where it gets what they're saying becomes sicker and more disgusting than it was 10 or 12 years ago, but it's more honest.
Here, this is a tweet from him. He says, a woman is a woman when they hit puberty. Making a certain age a number is arbitrary and makes no sense. Basically saying, as soon as they hit puberty, they magically become a woman. And they're ready to become a wife, become a mother, to become one of many wives. And as you can see, he's right here on a photo here, like looking at a little girl, and
in pretty creepy fashion.
Just illustrate what actually is implied by the stupid and vile and messed up things that this guy says.
And we pointed out in our live stream where we went through his tweets defending child marriage, that what he's saying, as soon as a girl hits puberty, not completes the process of puberty and grows into a woman. No, as soon as old enough to bleed, old enough to breed, that sort of mentality. We pointed out that pig farmers actually treat pigs better than these Dawa guys treat their wives and daughters. You could go to a pig breeding site. It will tell you just because your pig has started menstruating doesn't mean you should start breeding. You should let the pig continue developing.
So here's a tweet by him. It says, the disbelievers think we should be ashamed of some things in Islam. There's not a single thing our prophet did not do that I myself wouldn't do, or did that I myself wouldn't do. This is submission. This is the way. So he's saying there's not a single thing that my prophet did, clearly here in reference to child marriage, that I myself wouldn't do.
By the way, that doesn't make any sense, because there are things that his prophet did that he's not, that the Muslim cowboy would not be allowed to do. Like Muhammad said, oh, you guys can only have 4 wives, but I'm allowed to have more because I'm special. And so he married at least 9. We know he had at least 9 or 11 wives at one time. So the Muslim cowboy would say, well, I would do that too, because Muhammad did it, even though that would get him in trouble with Allah. So notice the level of narcissism already. Like, I'm in a different category with Muhammad. I can do all of this stuff, some of which was only for Muhammad, according to Islam.
Alhamdulillah, that's beautifully said.
That's good, though. It's good he thinks he's that perfect, that important.
Powerful stuff, powerful stuff. And another one is here where he says, yep, that's me.
He says, you're darn tootin', it's me. A Muslim cowboy.
So this guy says, explain how having sex with a 9-year-old is okay by anthropology or biology or psychology. He says, yes, if she is a woman. And anthropologically, women have become women at 9 all over the world. You really need to study, champ. And then he says, yep, it's me. We support our prophets. Marriage to Aisha at 9. No big deal. She was a woman through and through.
And so look, notice he says, anthropologically, women have become women at 9 all over the world. It's weird that women have become women. Well, okay, so they're already women, and then they became women at 9 all over the world. Now, guess what? No, they haven't. No, they haven't at all. He's defining woman as anyone who has reached puberty. That is insane and disgusting. Who agrees with that besides these guys? Oh, you reached puberty. So notice, following what he said, as soon as a girl reaches puberty, this raises the entire problem that was brought up by Inspiring Philosophy in his debate with Daniel Hakikachu. There are cases of precocious puberty where an 11-month-old baby, because of a medical problem, goes into puberty at 11 months old. According to this guy, according to the Muslim cowboy, 11 months olds are full-grown women. 11-month-old babies can be full-grown women.
Well, she's ready.
That's the level of intellectual integrity that you're dealing with these guys. An 11-month-old baby still babbling and breastfeeding is a fully grown woman, according to this guy. I'm not exaggerating here. That's how disgusting this is. And this is what they come up with as soon as they convert to Islam. This is what they want to defend.
All right, so this is what we're dealing with. This is a dangerous person.
In my mind, the way I think, I would be like, okay, well, if this is from God and I've got a problem with that, then I'm the one with the problem. I'm the one with the problem, and I need to believe God.
Yeah, so we're pointing out it's the seriousness of how important the evidence for Islam would be. Because if I were to believe that Islam is true and came from God, then there would be a question of whether there's wiggle room on interpreting. And there is. You could be a Muslim and reject the sources that say that Muhammad had sex with a 9-year-old girl. You could say, I don't believe in those sources. So you could be a Quran-only Muslim. You'd still be stuck with Surah 65, verse 4. But if you rejected the commentaries, because we point out the commentaries, Ibn Kathir and so on, if you rejected all of the Asbab al-Nuzul, if you rejected the historical background on what these revelations are for, you could come up with another interpretation where it's a girl who hasn't menstruated because of some medical problem or something like that. Even if she's like 20 years old, she has a medical problem that keeps her from menstruating or something like that. You could in theory interpret it like that if you threw out everything in the Muslim sources. But if you didn't, then, and if you said, hey, this guy Muhammad is from God, he has God's stamp of approval, and everything he did that was not specifically condemned by Allah has God's stamp of approval, then I would have to say, well, if the medical world tells us this is a really bad idea, but God says it's okay, and at least in certain circumstances, I'd have to go with God. So what's the point there? You're going to need some seriously good evidence if you want me to rethink sex with children and think that's okay. So what's the What's the takeaway? You guys had better have some good evidence for what you believe if we have to rethink even the basics of morality for this. And what's the question is, what is this great, outstanding evidence that you have that would make us go, oh, well, not too bad. If the entire medical world and psychologists and everyone tells us that banging little girls is really, really bad, the Almighty has declared that it's actually okay. What evidence do you have that would make us rethink that? I'd still like to know, because all I've gotten for decades is the Quran's been perfectly preserved, even though it hasn't. That was a lie. Oh, there are all these scientific miracles in the Quran. No, that doesn't. That's a lie. They even admit these things were lies now. Right now, I don't even know what their arguments are anymore, because for every argument they give, there are Muslims saying, nope, that argument's garbage. That was all a lie. It was all a joke. Don't take it seriously. And what are they left with? It's Ali Dawah going, people are going to convert because of intolerance. Okay, so if he converted 10 years ago, he's been a Muslim 10, you got no excuse. Oh, you're in a different category. I assumed you were a new convert, and that's why you didn't know that Aisha hadn't reached puberty and that the Quran does not require you reach puberty. So this is just weird. There was an excuse for his ignorance, and so we were kind of treating him with kids' gloves because we thought he was new. He's been a Muslim 10 years.
I am quite honored that David Peckerwood and A Pussy.
Hey! Whoa! That was 2 insults, wasn't it? Was that 2?
That was 2.
That's 2 pages of the Quran, Muslim Cowboy. Notice your decisions. This was your decision, your behavior. You know how we act, and you choose to act in a way that is going to cause us to do this. That's your decision. Okay, you're gonna get a page. That was 2 insults.
Muslim Cowboy, there's one thing you actually need to know, which is that whenever you insult us, we will rip up a page of the Quran, and it'll be on you. That will be on you, fella.
I hope this don't remind you of a goat.
I'm quite honored that David Peckerwood and A Pussy, along with that one uninspired philosophy guy,
Wait, that's 3 insults. That's 3. 3.
You're making us go through a lot of this Quran here. More Quran than you've ever gone through. Am I right? This escalated quickly, man.
About my statements defending my Prophet Muhammad. Where I come from.
Now, why did he not say?
Oh, it's going to hell.
The Prophet Muhammad said, may he be humiliated who hears my name and doesn't say Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. So what's your excuse, Muslim Cowboy?
The issue is whether Muhammad, peace and blessings be upon him, is a prophet.
Well, he actually said it. See?
There you go.
Save yourself.
Or not. Prove that he is a prophet and that the Quran is from God Almighty.
This is so funny.
Wait, is he actually going to give proof? I just suddenly became interested in this.
God Almighty, then whatever God commanded him to do was good. And see, this is why
that was weird.
I find it really funny.
So just like when Allah told him to go back to banging his sex slave after he swore an oath to Allah to stop having sex with his sex slave, it's good. I've concluded that it's good for a man to break his oath to his wives and go back to banging his sex slave. Yeehaw!
Well, that was quite a revelation right there.
Powerful revelation.
Muhammad, peace be upon him, doing, even though he was completely immoral, the best of mankind, is that when you delve.
That's the reality of the situation.
How does he not understand the point, right? You guys are asking us to accept that a guy who, if you made a list of the worst things that people can possibly do, you made like a top 10 list of like the top 10 worst things a person can do. Muhammad did like 6 or 7 of them, right? So if you're saying, no, you have to conclude that everything he did is right, you're going to need some powerful evidence for that. And so in other words, it can't just be a dawah lie. It can't just be something that I'm supposed to mindlessly accept without investigating. That's the point. You're talking about something that requires completely reversing what we mean by ethics and morality. Why should we do that? Oh, because of the perfect preservation of the Quran. Lie. Because of the scientific miracles. Lie. No, we need an actual, really, really, really good argument. I don't think you got one, Muslim Cowboy. You want to prove me wrong on that? All right.
Muslim Cowboy. So when we talk about morality, so Muhammad said that people who leave the religion should be killed. That's number one. Number two, he lied. It's number two. If you want more information on that, sure, we can talk about it. Because as far as I've seen in the video, you actually don't provide any proof for the things you say anyway. Number three, he took multiple wives and made the excuse through Allah's revelation that only he can take a huge number of wives, and all the other Muslims, his followers, they may only take up to 4 wives. He lusted, according to the Quran, after his adopted son's wife, and which resulted in them divorcing and him marrying his adopted son's wife. Number 4, he took slaves. Number 5, he took sex slaves. Number 6, I don't know, there's just so much more. He married a little child. Which of course you won't accept, because here's the problem, Muslim Cowboy. Most people, when they hear these things, they will say, wow, that's really, 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 really messed up what I'm hearing there. But to you will hear those things. You will realize that to most people, this is completely disgusting, but you have already shifted your perspective to everything Muhammad does is morally correct, and he's the most moral character. Therefore, it is impossible for you to accept that any of these things are actually problematic. And the whole world, the rest of the world, will look at you and what you say with disgust. That's the reality. That's the truth here. And they will look at you and they will say,
You're sick. You're sick.
That's the problem here. You don't see it. You just don't see it. And we can prove to you that the science completely disagrees, reasonably so, that a girl that hits puberty is not a woman. So the science says definitely that is not the case. But you will not accept that. You will just pretend you didn't see that. You will just pretend you didn't understand that. And you will maintain your position that a little girl at the age of 9, once she hits puberty, becomes a woman, because that is your belief, which is deeply anchored in your head now, and you will not accept any other evidence to the contrary. And that's your problem, Muslim Cowboy. And when you go out there and defend and justify pedophilia and say you would do it too, that's the problem, Cowboy. That's the problem. That's why we are sitting here and destroying you. And it's quite easy to do that, to be honest.
We should really, really be opposing your religion, right? Because as far as we can tell, it's a bunch of horrible, horrible stuff about boning little girls and taking the wives of your own adopted sons and breaking your oaths and all kinds of things. It's all of that stuff that we don't want anything to do with. Killing apostate. We don't want that. And you guys start defending it over nothing, because you hear some stupid, idiotic nonsense from some Dawa guy 10 years ago, and you go, oh yeah, well, I don't want to bother investigating what this guy said, so I'll just go with it. Okay, that's a problem. That's a problem for society, that there are people like you. So we're going to respond to you. Seriously, this is amazing. I mean, it's not just that this guy has a disgusting view. It's that he has a disgusting view that he is propagating to a bunch of morons who don't know what puberty is and who don't know what the Quran says. And people take this seriously, and they're like breeding a generation of Muslims who are going to think it's okay to be banging 5 and 6 and 7 year old little girls. And we're the jerks for responding to them.
Is that when you delve into their book and you look at their prophets, people who were considered prophets, who are said to have done horrendous things.
Yeah. I mean, he literally just basically said, the people in the Bible did bad things. Well, yeah, because the people in the Bible are part of a larger narrative. They don't have that same concept that you have in Islam, in the Quran, where everyone mentioned is a prophet and none of them makes any mistakes ever. No, that's not what's happening in the Bible. In the Bible, you are supposed to read and learn from them, and they serve as a moral purpose, a story. This guy doesn't know this.
Yeah, guys. So yeah, it's disturbing that he doesn't know, like,
Wow.
There's a completely different view of people in the Bible, even prophets in the Bible from prophets in the Quran. In Islam, there's a doctrine. It's called Ismat al-Anbiya. That's Allah's protection of the prophets. And at first, so for about the first 150 years of Islam, it meant that Allah would protect a true prophet from persisting in major sins. So a prophet could commit some sort of major sin, but Allah is going to send the angel Gabriel to step in and correct him, right? So this is when you get stuff like the satanic verses, that Muhammad could promote shirk and promote praying to multiple pagan goddesses. Don't forget that the Muslim Cowboy says he would do anything that Muhammad did. Okay, Muhammad told his followers to pray to pagan goddesses. But later on, the doctrine got modified by theologians so that it wasn't Allah will protect a true prophet from persisting in major error. It became Allah will protect a prophet from committing any sort of significant error. And once that became the view, and so they have to view Muhammad as anything that Muhammad did. It obviously can't be bad, but they think that all prophets are like that. And then they saddle us, no pun intended, Muslim Cowboy, they saddle us with that same view, and they think, oh, that's what they believe about prophet. No, we believe prophets are massive screw-ups. When God tells Jonah, go preach to those people, and Jonah says no and runs, we don't say, oh, therefore it's good to run away and disobey God. It's good to disobey God and tell God, no, I'm not doing that. I'm not preaching to those people over there. That's good because a prophet did it. We don't think like that. We think that God takes people who are sometimes massive screw-ups and uses them anyway. That's our view. So in other words, if you're saying, look, when our prophet does something, that's God's stamp of approval. Yeah, but we go to the Bible and these prophets got God's stamp of approval. No, they don't. They don't have God's stamp of. They'll have God's stamp of approval on the message that they were preaching that was from God. You don't have their God's stamp of approval on everything they did. That's ridiculous. And these guys over and over again are condemned in the, I don't know what he's about to say about Solomon, but Solomon was condemned repeatedly. He was condemned and punished in the Bible. It's kind of weird because it's like they make idols out of human beings. They think, this guy got a message from God, therefore this guy's perfect. It's like but I mean, think of a because Quran only Muslims point this out with this kind of like idolatry of prophets in Islam. If a prophet is basically a mailman who delivers a message, imagine a mailman delivering you a message from, let's say, the president of the United States or something, and the mailman brings you the message and said, here's the message from the president of the United States, and you say, oh, the mailman brought me the message, therefore everything he does in his entire life is perfect, and everything this guy does in his entire life has the stamp of approval of God. And the president, like, what are you talking? Are you stupid? But that's anyway, that's what they think.
That's what I think. There is something that needs to be established, which is that in the Bible, it's not like the Quran, where the Quran just creates these fake stories. The Bible is talking about people that actually existed, and reports about people that existed as if they actually did exist. It's not a fantasy world that is creating. Solomon is an actual person, is an actual king, is an actual ruler, and he makes many mistakes. He does things that a human does. Prophets are not gods. Prophets are not gods. When you look at the Muslim perspective on prophets, you could say that by Islamic logic, that Muslims take their prophets as lords besides Allah, because they consider them perfect. They consider them free of flaws. It's ridiculous. That's not how it is in the Bible.
Yeah, and just think about this, because in legal settings and historical settings and so on, people appeal to something called the principle of embarrassment, meaning that if you're writing something or if you're making up a story, you tend to make up stories that help you and make you look better rather than things that'll make you appear worse. It's like if I say, hey, if you're in court and you're accused of stealing some candy. So you're on the stand and you're accused of stealing some candy. And they say, sir, where were you when that candy came up missing? You say, I was over at the school selling crack to all those kids. You might actually beat that charge, because it could be like, okay, he wouldn't make something up like that. He's not going to make something up like that. So if this guy says, no, I wasn't there, I was over here selling crack to kids, he's probably telling the truth. So yeah, so a general rule, people make up things. If you're going to make something up, you make up something that helps your case rather than hurts your case. It's like when later Muslims made up stories about Muhammad performing miracles. That's exactly what the sort of thing, even though the Quran says Muhammad couldn't perform any miracles, that's exactly the sort of thing you would make up. You'd make up miracle stories. And it's why we tend to trust things like stories like the satanic verses. And so why would you make that up? If it weren't true, why would you make that sort of thing up? Now think about this, Muslim Cowboy. Because you're saying, look, the Bible says their prophets and kings did all these horrible things, whereas in the Quran it says, nope, they didn't do any of that. They were great, and they had God's stamp of approval, and they were always wonderful, and they didn't do anything wrong. Okay, David, which one of those is more likely to be made up? Like if you're Jews and you're recording the actions of your kings and prophets, why are you going to make up stories about them doing messed up things, right? It seems like you're just recording it, right? If you're recording them doing all these messed up things, it seems like, well, we've got to be honest here. If our prophets screwed up, then our prophets screwed up. We need a record of that as an example to other people. Look, guys, even the prophets can screw up. So you need to pay attention to what you're doing. And look, and here are cases where our prophets screwed up and our prophets repented. So take that as a lesson. So they keep that there. Whereas in Islam, it's just, nope, doesn't sound good. So let's just pretend it all never happened. Yeah, so in other words, it's the Islamic version of these stories sounds made up. The biblical version of the stories doesn't sound made up, because there was no reason to make up stories about these guys, their heroes doing really creepy, messed up stuff. They don't have a reason to fabricate these kinds of things. In Islam, there is a reason to fabricate things because you have a distorted view of things. So sorry, sport, you've got some problems here.
Their prophets in the Bible did horrendous, terrible things. They actually raped women. They actually slept with their own family members.
Where was this?
All right, Muslim Cowboy.
Like I'm glad I'm perfectly happy to say this prophet did this messed up thing. Where's what is he? What? Yeah, let's see what he's.
I know what he's talking about. He's not going to clarify it. Muslim Cowboy.
Is he talking about Lot?
Would you please clarify which prophet actually raped people? Number one. Number two, would you please clarify which prophet slept with their own family members? Because the only person that I'm thinking of right now that is frequently mentioned in that context is Lot.
Yeah, they always say Lot.
Muslim Cowboy, I hate to break it to you, Lot is not a prophet.
It's like there are multiple levels of the stupidity. One, they think Lot's a prophet. Two, they think if Lot's a prophet, then he has God's stamp of approval for everything. No, he doesn't. None of that is true. What are you talking about? This is so. Notice, in addition to you guys defending child marriage, which is disturbing enough, also one of the things that happens when you revert and become a Dawah guy is you become completely incapable of understanding anything at all. About how anything works, about how, and I don't know what to do with that, but it's a problem. If I say, hey, as the moment someone accepts that religion, this is how they start thinking. Notice, guys. It's, but people in the Bible did bad things. Therefore, they're being inconsistent when they criticize Muhammad for doing bad things. No, because the claim is that Muhammad's things that he did that were bad aren't bad. We acknowledge the bad things that people did in the Bible. What you're saying that they're not bad because Muhammad did them. That's a completely different thing. If Muslims were claimed, let me go ahead and state it here. If the claim of Islam were Muhammad is massively screwed up. This guy is such a sick, twisted pervert that he banged a 9-year-old prepubescent girl. He took the wife of his own adopted son. He gets caught banging his slave girl in his wife's bed, and his wives get mad, and he swears an oath, and then he breaks the oath because he gets a revelation. If the message were, yeah, Muhammad did all these things, look at how screwed up he is, the Quran condemns all these evil things that he did and rebukes him for doing these evil things, but nevertheless, God can even use this complete scumbag to deliver a revelation. If that were the status of Muhammad in Islam, I wouldn't be criticizing the things he did. I would say, yeah, the Quran's right. That guy's massively screwed up. I agree with that. So let's see if we can actually trust him as a prophet. But the horrible things that he did wouldn't be an issue for believing in him if it was acknowledged that these are horrible things according to the religion. That's not the case. That's not the case, Muslim Cowboy. It's up. He banged a little girl, therefore it's good. We can all bang us some little girls. Yeah.
You got that right, David. Got that right. Difference here is that Muhammad is considered the perfect messenger, the perfect example for all humankind to follow. And if you glorify that, I was gonna blurt out something. If you're gonna glorify that child molester, that child diddler, a rapist, a slaver, murderer, liar, then we have a problem. We have a problem, son. Because in the Bible, people who are considered prophets or even other figures are not perfect moral characters. The Bible teaches you morals. The Bible teaches you morals. What the stories of those prophets you're talking about? You damn fool.
And look at this. This guy doesn't know anything about Christianity. He claims that he leaves it and becomes a Muslim, and then all of a sudden, what? Starts banging little kids. Learn it here, folks. Don't leave Christianity for Islam. You're going to want to start banging little kids.
He was the upholder of justice, and he brought mercy to a people who didn't deserve it. A people who used to bury their own daughter. Prophet Muhammad, peace of...
Oh, God, same narrative over and over again. I mean, I can go to certain scholars who say that the whole narrative that the pre-Islamic Meccans were burying their babies or burying their little girls is extremely overblown and used as typical. I mean, this is even something that what's his name? I always forget the guy's name. One scholar that I had on my channel before of early Islamic history and pre-Islamic history even, he says that the whole narrative and the whole emphasis on the pagans burying their little girls is probably used in Islam the way it is often used in new cultures that demonize the past in order to justify their own, system that they bring. And that in reality, it was probably not that common for the pre-Islamic Meccans to do that, although it is undeniable that it was probably a thing. Killing your children or burying them alive or doing things like that, killing your girls was common in some of these cultures out of despair because they would be they don't have the means to survive. They think if we have a girl, we will not get any benefit out of this. She will only be a burden. She will suffer. We will suffer. Let's bury her. They actually did these things. It's pretty messed up. And yeah, maybe Islam came and said, this is evil. We shall not do this anymore. We shall only marry little girls and have sex with them. So in that regard, Islam definitely did bring some change.
There's also some inconsistencies in how some of this stuff is used in Dawah. You can open a Dawah Muslim apologetics book or something like that, and they won't see any inconsistency between on the one hand, they'll massively exaggerate, and it was an epidemic of sending little girls off to their deaths, and they would just, everyone who had a little girl would throw her into the desert to die. And then you go to a later chapter and it will say, yes, so Muhammad allowed men to marry 4 wives, but that was just because there were so many more women than girls in Arab culture. It's like, wait a minute. If they're killing all the girls as infants, how are there so many girls? How are there so many girls in society that everyone needs to marry 4?
Yeah,
got some problems there. Pick one. Pick one. All the girls are dead, and so there are not enough girls to go around. Or there are so many girls going around that every guy can have 3 or 4.
Yeah. I'm thinking of Robert Hoyland as the scholar who had some opinions on that.
If he was some kind of psychopath, then of a surety, after he died, all of the people who were happy to be free of him, would they not have come out afterwards saying, "Well, you know what? He was actually like this." And look,
is this guy drunk? AP, because I mean, you don't even have to have a basic, you don't need an 80 IQ to see the problem with this. AP,
Yeah.
if one of Muhammad's companions had come up after his death and said, you know what, that guy's actually evil and should be condemned, what's going to happen to that person right there? Because this guy's saying that's what would have happened if someone knew something.
They're gonna get buried, gonna get dusted. Have you ever, Muslim Cowboy, have you ever heard of the Ridda Wars? Have you ever heard of the wars, the War of Apostasy, or the Wars of Apostasy, which ensued immediately after the death of Muhammad? You know what happened as soon as Muhammad died? As soon as Muhammad died, people didn't care about burying him and remembering him and doing everything for his body and all that. The thing that they worried about immediately was to establish a succession after him. A fight broke out, and across Arabia, different Arab populations that were subdued by Muhammad started rebelling and going astray, some declaring themselves as new prophets. And Abu Bakr, the first caliph after Muhammad, declared war on all of those, to crack down on them, to bring them in line and to massacre them, to make sure that there is no dissent, there is no difference, there is no rebellion, no heresies, and so on. It didn't go over perfect. It wasn't like all of the Arabs were like, oh yeah, Muhammad died, but we shall never go astray. We will protect what he left for us and go with that. No, there was a strict rule of obedience by the new caliph. All those who show signs of heresy or dissent were persecuted, and this is attested in Islamic sources themselves. If you want to hear from the non-Muslims who are not part of the club, you can see right in the Quran that they repeatedly accused Muhammad of being a liar, of simply making up stories that he, or simply repeating stories that he heard from others, repeating ancient stories, being crazy, being insane, and so on. We also see in the earliest biographies that Muhammad had people killed for mocking him, and so on. So, what are you smoking, Muslim Cowboy?
I will name 3 problems here. So one, already mentioned it, that no, doesn't work like you think, Muslim Cowboy. Someone comes out in the Muslim community and says, hey, I got some dirt on Muhammad. Let me tell you what a scumbag that guy was. He's going to get killed. They're going to kill him because you're not allowed to make fun. It's a death penalty. Making fun of Muhammad, criticizing Muhammad is a death penalty. It wouldn't be allowed. So acting like, oh yeah, anytime someone dies, everyone shares all the dirt on them. Yeehaw! Not when you're going to get your head chopped off for it. So that's one. 2, AP pointed it out. They're only allowing certain kinds of information to get in. You don't have writings from Muhammad's critics. And the Muslim sources, they eventually became obsessed with weeding out negative information. You have this. So we know that Muhammad delivered what are called the satanic verses. I have 50 Muslim sources on giving various accounts of the satanic verses. These get traced back to very early in Islam. You don't have them in later sources. Why? We actually know. So Ibn Ishaq recorded the satanic verses. People like Tabari recorded it from Ibn Ishaq. He's like, I got this from Ibn Ishaq. We don't actually have Ibn Ishaq's actual book. We have an edited version from Ibn Hisham, and the satanic verses story isn't in there. Why? He actually tells us. He says, I removed embarrassing material from the accounts of Muhammad, so because this would have been offensive to people. So they're actively removing embarrassing information. You're saying, why isn't there more embarrassing information? So notice those are 2 things. The third thing is, think about what you actually have in your sources. This guy's banging little kids. This guy's, he proposes marriage to a baby at one point. He proposes marriage to a baby. This is a guy who takes the wife of his own adopted son after causing the divorce by lusting after. This is the stuff you read. Aisha saying, and every time he goes to the mosque, he's just covered in semen, so I have to try and scratch it off because it's disgusting. These are the kinds of things you read about after they've taken out the embarrassing stuff. So how in the name of common sense are you getting, see, it's just read about him. He's so great. He's so great. And what are you talking about? We read about the guy and we understand that when we're reading Sahih al-Bukhari, we are reading information that was filtered for centuries to weed out the worst stuff about him. And we still are absolutely repulsed by how disgusting this person was. And you're saying, well, he's so obviously wonderful that he must be a true. What the heck is this guy talking about, man?
You don't know what you're talking about.
That he taught that Allah is gentle, right? And he loves people who are gentle.
He was gentle when he was chopping the heads off of those 600 to 900 Jews. He was gentle when he told his followers to beat their wives into submission. He was gentle when he said, anyone who leaves this Islamic religion, kill him. He was so gentle when he called for the violent subjugation of the entire world. He was gentle when he had that woman tied up to those camels and had them run in different directions to rip her body apart. He was gentle when he pulled those legs apart of that prepubescent 9-year-old girl and banged her and then taught his followers to do the same. He was gentle in all this stuff. He's so gentle, a gentle lover. A gentle prophet. He was a gentle man. What a gentleman. He's a good Southern gentleman.
Ladies and gentlemen.
He loves gentleness.
Whosoever is kind to the animals, this is a good deed.
Especially to the dogs.
And the goats. Goat, pretty little goat.
The environment, this is a good deed. He said, the best of you is the best to your wives. And he said, I am the best to my wife.
What's best depends on my definition of best. According to Muhammad's definition of best, it's all right to beat your wife if she doesn't listen to you. It's all right to rape your wife if she doesn't want to have sex with you. It's all right to have sex with a little girl. That's the problem, Muslim Cowboy. You don't get it. You don't understand it. You got hate in your brain.
Somebody who every single person looked up to. And if you look up to him, then you will live.
Every single person except those who had to die.
A noble and a fulfilled life, rather than looking up to people like David Woodpecker, the crossdresser, and Apus.
Hey!
The unstable man.
Hold up.
Wait. Let's just know what he says.
Okay. Let's count. We got to count up the insults.
Look up to him, then you will live a noble and a fulfilled life, rather than looking up to people like David Woodpecker, the crossdresser, and Apus, the unstable sad man, who can't seem to get over the fact that he was once a Muslim and it consumes his life. David Wood, correct me if I'm wrong.
Hold on. You're counting that as 6. I'm counting that as 4. So you're going with 6. I'm going with 4.
No, I was just being very.
You're being pretty liberal. I'm being pretty strict. I'm being pretty strict on what I count as insults. Why do they always say crossdresser and leave out the fact that I was specifically making fun of Muhammad in that video? You have all these sources about Muhammad being in Aisha's garments, prancing around in his child bride's nightie, and I make a video trying to show, guys, if I were to put on my wife's garment, you would instantly think I'm nuts and use that as a criticism against me. But when your prophet does it, it's automatically fine. He's illustrating the point. But anyway, I counted 4.
All right.
That's a 4-page. That's a 4-page Quran penalty there, Muslim Cowboy.
1, 2.
We weren't going to do this. It's your behavior.
Okay.
Wrong. But did you not say that if Muhammad was a prophet, then anything that he was commanded, you'd have to be behind it? So the issue isn't whether Aisha was 9 when he consummated his marriage with her, but it's whether Muhammad is a prophet. Peace and blessings be upon him.
Because I mentioned, like Muhammad and Aisha. So if I said, I find that problematic or something like that, if you somehow showed that Islam is true, in my mind, the way I think, I would be like, okay, well, if this is from God and I've got a problem with that, then I'm the one with the problem. I'm the one with the problem.
All right. David, you're the one with the problem. You have problems, David. Why don't you just accept the fact that you have problems, David?
And I need to believe God.
I find it quite intriguing that you're coming after
I find it quite intriguing.
me now about this issue, saying that you yourself finally came to the conclusion that, look, if God in the Bible says to kill a bunch of people,
Not what I said.
God says it, you have to agree that God condoned it and it's from God, right? Maybe he says this at a certain time for a certain reason, but you agreed to it. And now you're going to come and kind of muddy the waters, you know, use a lot of emotional appeal to try to get your followers to come after me and call me all kinds of names. But look, it's not going to work.
Wait, he's complaining about name calling? That dude's complaining about name calling? Hey, so just to recap, Muslim Cowboy, because you still don't understand. When we're talking about, if we said prophet so-and-so in the Bible had sex with a 9-year-old girl, we would not say that was okay. Fortunately, we don't have that. But if you did have that, we would not say it's okay. We'd say that prophet was either wrong, because prophets did things that are like clearly wrong, even wrong according to them. But also, there can be situations where we could say it's wrong and they just didn't know at the time, right? You can have situations like that. That's not what we're talking about. If I were to accept Islam, I have to accept Muhammad as this ultimate standard of conduct, and I have to accept that all this stuff is good. So if I had to accept your prophet, yeah, I have to become like you. That's horrifying to me. So I have to know what is the good evidence you have to show that this is somehow from God. And whenever Muslims give me the evidence, it's always something stupid. It's not even like, here's our argument, and you can kind of see what we're going after, but maybe you disagree. It's almost always just a flat out lie. It's almost always just a complete lie. And so, wait a minute, we have pedophilia, and if you convert to our religion, you have to accept pedophilia, and the justification for accepting our religion is a bunch of lies. So it's a bunch of perversion justified by lies. That's what I see in your religion. Perversion, disgusting things, horribly violent stuff, all justified by dawah lies. And we ask, is there anything better? And we get you. That's the problem, dude. And we're trying to make you understand it.
So unlike you people, I'm willing to stand up for what I believe in.
I stood over him with the
You better be careful there, Muslim Cowboy.
hammer. So I drew back my arm and came down on him with all 230 pounds. I didn't know how fast blood could come out of someone's head. Out of someone's head.
Is this supposed to be an insult?
David?
I want to say something very quickly, David, before you give your response to the situation.
My response?
Yeah. Muslim Cowboy. Now, you got a man here who tells about his past and who tells about how dark and how bad the past is. And he speaks of transformation, becoming a better person, going a new path, a path of light, a path where he leaves the darkness behind. And you think it's a great idea to talk about his past as if it was the present, as if it was the future, and to show that to the world and say, look at who this guy is. Look at the bad things he's done. Muslim Cowboy, the guy repented. The guy changed. He moved on into the light. He left it all behind. He's now better. Shouldn't you be focusing on the better man in front of you?
Yeah, isn't it like, here's what's interesting. So you've got me before I'm a Christian, and then becoming a Christian makes my behavior better. I don't do that stuff anymore. This guy converts to Islam and suddenly starts thinking that banging an 11-month-old baby is a good thing to do. And he doesn't get it. Guys, can you imagine if instead of becoming a Christian, I had joined this guy and said, wow, you know what's real cool? The Muslim Cowboy. Yoo-hoo! What the heck? What would I have done? What would I have done if I joined that religion?
I mean, you have a guy who says, hey, this is the bad stuff that I come from, and I am now much better because of this. And you come here and you're like, look, this guy was a bad person. Well, yeah.
I can only count that as one.
I counted as 15. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5,
Whoa!
6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15.
That's almost cruel and unusual punishment, AP.
How about that, man? How about that, Muslim Cowboy? Like that, Muslim Cowboy? Like that, Muslim Cowboy? What do you think about that, Muslim Cowboy? Huh?
Your actions, Muslim Cowboy.
This is a consequence of your
always
actions.
your decisions. Your decisions. They think they live in a world where they can run around defending pedophilia and all this other stuff, and we're all just going to go along with it and say, oh, we need to respect it because it's their religion. That was that was the case for lots of people like 15 years ago. Lots of people thought, well, if it's your religion, you get. Nah, we're past that now. We're past that.
15 pages, Muslim Cowboy. It's on you.
All you. You're responsible for this. If you had not been a complete disrespectful, insulting douche this entire time, defending pedophilia, these pages would not have been ripped up, chewed up, or anything else. Your decisions, and the decisions of the Dawa community. Look at what you guys are doing. And this, guys, I can't emphasize this enough. We're just getting started. It's still just a few of us. This is going to become normal around the world. For any time you guys run your mouths or do something stupid or talk about banging little girls, the people around the world are going to end up doing this. And it's all because of you.
What happens in that hotel room when you and A Pussy travel together? Brothers and sisters.
Now, Muslim Cowboy, gotta tell you one more thing here. Well, usually when you insult
That's
somebody,
That's two. It's he called you a name and what's crazy? His prophet goes around with semen stains all over him, and I think, when you guys travel together, the fact that he thinks, if two guys are together, they must be doing something, dude. Your prophet literally walked around covered in semen. What else do you need to see? What else? I mean, what else do you need?
Once you recognize that there is no other truth from your Lord except for Islam, that there's only one God worthy of worship, that he doesn't have sons or partners, sisters, roommates, uncles, brothers. He wasn't himself, then
God doesn't have uncles and brothers? Huh.
became himself, then killed himself because he himself could not forgive the sins of the people that he himself created. If you have a hard time with concepts like this,
wait.
If you have a hard time with concepts like these, I have a surprise for you about Islam's whole arrangement of Allah creating people to make them sin and then punishing them for sinning.
Yeah.
Despite the fact that he created the very place of sin to begin with and so on. But yeah, continue.
Yeah, Allah wants us to sin so that he can forgive. But here's another instance where the dude doesn't even understand his own sources. According to the Quran, when people have sins as heavy as a mountain, Allah can't just forgive them. So he punishes Jews and Christians for the sins of Muslims. That's what your prophet said. You're mocking it. You're saying, why can't God just forgive all those sins? He's not big enough to forgive all the sins. Your God says he can't let that slide. That's why he has to put those sins on the Jews and Christians. Like, how does this guy? He's been a Muslim 10 years.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah. That's how it goes. That's how it goes.
For you, when you don't want to worship a plethora of gods like in Hinduism or a weak god like in Judaism.
Ooh. Whoa. Wait, AP. What's he told to say in the Quran? Our God and your God is one. Oh, you got a weak God Judaism.
He just called the God of Judaism a weak God.
He just called the God that his Quran affirms is his same God. He just called that a weak. This is so weird. Again, if he had converted a month ago, you'd be in like an Andrew Tate or Sneeko situation where people are defending stuff, and you kind of give them the benefit of the doubt because they don't know any better, because they don't know anything. This guy's been a Muslim 10. That's shocking that this guy's been a Muslim 10 years.
Yeah. The Quran says in chapter 29, verse 46, and do not argue with the people of the scripture, except in a way that is best, except for those who commit injustice among them, and say, we believe in that which has been revealed to us and revealed to you. And our God and your God is one, and we are Muslims to him. So, Muslim Cowboy, I don't think you got that right. You just contradicted your Quran. You just insulted your Quran. You insulted your very God who tells you to tell the Christians and Jews, our God and your God is one God. How embarrassing.
Multiple things he's saying. I'm thinking, is this guy actually an apostate? And he doesn't know. I mean, when you're saying this stuff, when the God, your God, who warns you repeatedly not to say anything that goes against him, and not to come up with your own system, because that's innovation. He says all innovators are going to hell. When your God is saying all these things, and you're contradicting him and mocking, when he says, hey, what you are supposed to say to Jews and Christians is our God and your God is one, and you've got a weak God. Okay, so you're either saying Allah is weak, or you're saying the Quran is wrong, that you guys have the same God.
Yeah.
This guy's like, it's like apostate, heretic. Weird stuff.
This is a clip right there. Muslim Cowboy says that Allah is a weak God and leaves Islam. That's basically what is being implied here. Here's
And do not argue with the people of the scripture, except in a way that is best, except for those who commit injustice among them, and say, we believe in that which has been revealed to us and revealed to you. And our God and your God is one, and we are Muslims. Our God and your God is one.
Cowboy, what do you say again about their God? That's a weak God. And yet your Quran says our God and your God is one. Talking to the people of the scripture, the Jews and Christians. You call the God of the Jews a weak God, but Allah says to you in your very own Quran that he is the very same God. So you just called Allah a weak God. Congratulations. You are a complete idiot.
Come take a shahada with me. Send me a message on Instagram or on X, and I'll be more than happy to talk to you. As always, guys, salam y'all.
Yeah. As always, guys,
Come take your shahada. Come take your shahada with me, and I'll tell you all about how we really love little girls here.
Yeah, we love them little girls, and that's why I really converted to Islam. Because in Islam, you can love little girls all you want. Nobody's gonna say nothing funny about that.
Here's the Muslim Cowboy square dance. Everyone ready?
Yeah.
Here we go. Bow to your partner. Say hello. Bow to Allah. Now worship Mo. Around your partner, do-si-do. Around your partner, here we go. Around your partner, and you'll see how much fun that girl can be. If you hear that girl is 9, grab her where the sun don't shine. Just don't make her 2 holes 1, cause that would mess up your fun. She can bring her dolls along. You can rape her all night long. Since that girl has half a brain, make her clean your jizya stains. If that girl says she won't clean, beat her till her skin turns green. She's as sweet as lemonade. Now grab a goat and promenade. And then since I switched to goat at the end, then like the next section could be goat, pretty little goat, and then start out with the goat. That song wouldn't even have existed if it weren't for the Muslim Cowboy defending molesting little kids.
IX said plot twist. Muslim Cowboy is actually an anti-Islam activist trying to make Islam look as horrible as possible by defending pedophilia online. That makes sense. It works.
Yeah, we brought that up as a possibility. If we were as remotely inclined to engage in conspiracy theories as the Dawa guys, that's what you would say. Like all these guys are saying it. Like Hakikachu, how would you not, if you were a conspiracy-minded person, how would you not think that guy is a plant by some organization to completely like destroy Islam from within? Or any of the guys, Ali Dawa, how does that guy become popular, right? Unless that's part of a plan.
Echoing Erudite said, AP, can others re-upload your videos to share them? No, if you do that, I will find you and I will kill you. No, you can do that. Yeah, sure. Go ahead. Go ahead. Yes, you can do that.
Do it. Do it.
Do it right now. Do it right now. All right. This was a pretty good show here. Pretty good show. And we learned a lot about Islam. Alhamdulillah. Yeah. What do you think? What do you think, David? What is your conclusion about the Muslim Cowboy? Do you think he will choose the cow or the goat? What do you think?
Well, it actually sucks because he's got some of the features that we want the Dawa guys to have. But he's kind of
he's stupid.
He's kind of like Fareed in that
stupid.
He just doesn't have enough charisma to make him one of the really popular guys. So you've got your main level guys. So that's Ali Dawa, Muhammad Hijab, Daniel Hakikachu up and coming, and Sheikh Uthman. Those are your main guys. But then you have this second tier of guys who they're lacking something. They have a lot of the right characteristics. So this is like Fareed and Muslim Cowboy, and even ladies like Rosie and so on, who they're not going to be super popular, but they can actually help expose Islam. So yeah, he's a good kind of second tier Dawa clown who's going to help us expose Islam, as he's already doing, and we're just getting warmed up.
And as my dear friend, my dear fellow likes to say,
stay away from Islam.
Yeah.